Good evening, viewers. I am Saifur Rahman. Warm welcome to you all in our new show, new series, The Other Way Around. The creative industry is vast and ever evolving and encompasses crucial sectors like fashion and textile in the current era. The creative industry is now in a position that the global warming and climate change is playing a significant role, so that the sustainability, slow and circular fashion cannot be overstated. So recognizing the need for the dialogue on these issues, we have invited our esteemed guest today. But before introducing our guest, let me share a brief about the DIB and DIG. Founded by the talented fashion designer of Bangladesh, Rokeya Ahmed Purna, DIG, or the Designing Global, is a platform, is a trust, and DIB, that is designed in Bangladesh, is a platform, of course, under the umbrella of DIG. So through this platform, we aim to explore various facets of the fashion industry and engage in discussion with our distinguished guests. So we must, this is my duty to introduce today's guest. In our inaugural show, we are very pleased to have our guest, who is young, multi-talent, and award-winning textile and apparel and design specialist with a profound focus on sustainability, a standout graduate of AMD Bachelor Program and MBA graduate specializing in circular economy. She is a designer and YP board member at C&A, as well as a freelance consultant and educator at GIG. GIG is none other than Ms. Shirin Araghi. A very warm welcome to our show, The Other Way Round.
Thank you so much.
How are you today?
I'm feeling actually very excited, and I'm super honored to join the session today. In Germany, it's extremely cold. We had some snow this morning, so I'm freezing. But apart from that, I'm absolutely fine. And yeah, as I said, super excited.
By the way, which city are you living there?
In Germany, I'm located in Düsseldorf, which is in the west of Germany, very close to the Netherlands.
Okay. So before we delve into our main discussion, I would like to know something about you. I have learned that you have proficient in 7 languages, including Farsi.
That is
so
right.
I have a curiosity to ask that, are you in any way Iranian descent?
Yes, I am. I'm half Iranian and half German. My father is from Iran, and he came to Germany for studying. So yeah, I'm of mixed culture, so to say.
Okay. So you are born and brought up in Germany?
Yes, I was already born in Germany, yeah.
So you, then how have you got the connection with Bangladesh? And can you tell me, or briefly, if you say something?
Yes, of course. I think it's fair to say that everybody who works in fashion is somehow connected to Bangladesh, because Bangladesh is just so drastically specialized in clothing manufacturing that it's just almost impossible to completely exclude Bangladesh from a perspective when you work in fashion. So of course, my first touch points that I had with Bangladesh was when I entered the fashion industry and when I started working at C&A. Of course, we were heavily collaborating with the Bangladeshi industry. And at some point, I got to meet some colleagues from the GIZ, which is a German Council for International Collaboration, which also host and foster several programs that that highlight the cooperation between German entities, German companies, and Bangladeshi industry partners. I got to meet them when I was speaking at a panel at a German fashion week. And it was just such a nice connection that they asked me if I wanted to help them in realizing some projects. And one thing led to another. And now currently I am sort of developing some educational programs for universities in Dhaka. And partly also teaching them. And I've been to Bangladesh only once so far. So the majority of my courses take place online. And last year in October was the first time that I had the chance to travel to Bangladesh. But apparently it's a part of my plan to visit regularly and to stay in touch also, you know, face to face with the students and with other industry partners in Bangladesh. But before that, when I really, when I started working in the industry, basically that was the moment when the pandemic started. So I had no chance to travel far away. So I also had no chance to connect with, with Bangladesh in that sense. But finally, last year was the first time that I was able to travel, over, and I'm planning to keep that a habit.
Okay. Before asking the next question, I just relate one thing, that there was an institution called DTC, Design and Technology Center, under GIZ long before, maybe it was 15 years back. And then I was a resource person there.
Ah, interesting. So we have a similar background. That's
yeah.
So, the world is really small. There's always connections.
Exactly. And how was your experience when you came to Bangladesh? What did you like most?
Yeah, so the thing that I liked most was definitely the people. Bangladesh is just so open and so welcoming to people that visit. I really truly felt appreciated, and I felt safe, and it felt like coming home to a family, which is something that that we as Germans, in Germany, we sometimes tend to be a bit cold, not so welcoming. This hospitality was definitely something that just amazed me incredibly. And I mean, the total structure of Bangladesh is very different to many European countries. It's just so much more lively, and it's more extroverted, it's more loud, and it's more high context between people, which reminded me also in some sorts to Iran, which I have visited a lot in my life. So there are some similarities. Also, my family has a Muslim background, so I'm definitely familiar with that part of the culture. That was also the first time in many years that I started, for example, eating with the hands again, because that's something that we don't do in Germany, but that my family in Iran also used to do. So it felt a bit like
we are Asian connections.
Yeah, there are some connections. Of course, it's very different, but I saw some things that reminded me a bit of home, and other things that were completely new to me.
And as you experience that, we are full of life.
Yes, full of life. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. And can you please tell me what actually inspired you to take this profession or to study fashion?
I think this is a question that many fashion designers are struggling to answer, because if you're really having this passion for clothing and the passion for fashion, then it's so difficult to pinpoint where it started. The only thing that I can remember is, even when I was a child, I was always inspired by, what kind of outfits would people wear? And when it was about, playing with puppets, then I was always interested in what kind of garments to put on them. So it has just always been there, this wish. And I was always somebody who was, kind of drawn to any sense of arts. I really like music. I really like painting. And then at some point, I understood that it's more than just a fun hobby. I really like fashion, and that's why when I got into school age, it was kind of settled in stone for me, and I never doubted it. So when I was at that age to pick a university and pick a profession that I want to study, there was no question for me. It was just always so clear that I want to pursue this path, that I'd never doubted it.
So when do you design? What actually your motivation? Music, or any piece, or any essays, or nature, or color, or what is your actual motivation of doing something creative?
Yeah, I think that really, I think it depends. And I'm still very young, and I'm pretty sure that this will also change over the course of a life. But when I was still a student, I was really inspired by other designers as one thing. Then I was also inspired by nature and by all the kinds of these kinds of amazing, beautiful visual resources that nature has to offer. That was definitely a big inspiration point. And nowadays, obviously, my job is a bit different because I'm designing pieces that are meant to be highly commercial. And when it comes to
Yes.
commerciality, you have to put your focus into a different direction. So now I'm really learning and I'm really engaging myself and being inspired by the people that I make this garment for. So I need to understand, what do they want? What do they need? What is their, what does their everyday life look like? And that's kind of what I'm trying to understand and be inspired by them, by their life, and to create a product that suits their lifestyle.
So before coming to the point of Bangladesh, I just want to ask one question that
Yeah.
you are a YP board member. So can you
Yes.
please explain what is YP board and what the role of the members?
Mhm. Yes, of course. So my current employer, CNA, has seen the need to listen to younger generations a bit more. And
Great.
their new
Yeah.
initiative is to kind of create a little sounding board of, let's say, 8 to 9 top talents in the company that are under 30 years old. And those would follow the top leadership team into some meetings. They would take over some specific projects and lead them. And I was nominated to be one of these young talents in this company. And so I'm part of this young professionals board that is really dedicated to giving a voice to the younger generation, because in the end, it's those new professionals that enter the industry that one day will lead us into a new strategic landscape. So it's a great opportunity to directly see how these company, strategic plans are actually executed from top level. And it's really interesting that young people like me get this kind of insight also into the top management. And that's definitely, a very challenging moment in time for me.
Yeah. Yes. Congratulations from our side. But
Thank you.
how are they chosen?
You can either apply yourself, you can be
Okay.
nominated by peers, by direct colleagues, or I think what is always valued a bit more is when your manager or your head of will nominate you and recommend you into that sense. So I was lucky enough that my manager was really pushing for my application. So I finally got through.
Okay. So now I just come to the subject of Bangladesh, because you are working with the Bangladesh apparel industry. So I think we can you can shed some light about our industry. So have you had the opportunity to explore the breakthroughs in our fashion industry in Bangladesh?
I think when it comes to what happened in the recent years, I did witness some breakthroughs. But obviously, since I'm not working in the industry for many decades, as some other people do, I haven't witnessed the past in a wider sense. But I can definitely see that in the last couple of years, there have been major changes, and that Bangladesh has definitely evolved and developed itself into, let's say, into an industry leader that also defines how we can actually make an industry more sustainable. So we definitely see that Bangladesh, as one of the main production countries for clothes, has such a big leading role also in determining how we can make our processes more efficient. How can we, ensure that the people who work in those sectors are treated fairly and treated with respect? But also, how can we make sure that we comply with standards that are a bit more environmentally saving and don't put any harm onto our nature, which is definitely, a drastic factor in the fashion industry.
So what will be your suggestion? How can our industry be sustainable and future centric, or can can face the challenge of the global warming?
Yes. So what I think is of utmost importance when we talk about, creating policies that will help to preserve nature is that we work across borders, because I think it's definitely great and recommendable that one country creates some laws and creates some policies on how to comply and how to structure a business. But when only one country is doing those kind of, those actions, it can never be fully, fully implying something about the future if other countries cannot or will not be able to collaborate with them. So I think this is one of the major challenges that in the industry we are facing, because fashion is created on such a highly globalized level. It's, one garment until it's finished has to cross so many national borders that we cannot really pinpoint one country has to change and one country has to do, certain things.
Exactly.
It's definitely something that we have to achieve across borders. And this is where I see that the industry has to improve. What I see in Bangladesh is that kind of right now, this kind of paradigms are shifting a little. And I see that Bangladesh in the recent years was almost known for a country that is just good in, producing what companies on the other side of the world tell them to produce. And I see that this is changing. And Bangladesh, through their highly specialized background, because they are the ones that have the knowledge and they are the ones that have also all this human power and this this intelligence on how to produce a garment, that they are now finding themselves in a position where they can push back and also influence strategies that are done on the other end of the world. So it's not this one-way street anymore. Brands on the other end of the world, buy 100,000 pieces, and then garment factories in Bangladesh simply produce without pushing any feedback. This is changing now, and people are starting to listen to the people in Bangladesh more and more, because they know this is where the knowledge is, and this is where people actually know how to do a garment, and they are the ones suffering the consequences when a product has to, be cheaper and cheaper all the time, because that in fact causes several harmful implications for nature and for the people. So if you want to do something better, you have to listen to the people that know how a garment is done. And that's what I see happening in the industry, that people are listening to, the knowledge coming from Bangladesh.
So it is not the case of Bangladesh, but of course a case of Bangladesh and also other countries who are, which are producing so much of apparels every year or every day, you can say.
Absolutely.
So how far is it possible to just change from the fast fashion to slow fashion, or how long will it can take actually?
Yeah, I think it will take us so many more years, because in the end, the demand is what drives these fast fashion cycles. And we still see that very wealthy countries, also like European countries that I'm, focusing on with my daily life, that especially here, people are just, used, and they don't know anything else than overconsumption. They kind of have lived this very easy life for the last decades, and they don't know how it is to worship a garment anymore, how it is to, not just simply dispose it when it's not pretty anymore, but how to keep it and how to worship this. And this was one of the most interesting things that I have seen when I came to Bangladesh, was that I see so many, especially women, also young women, connecting with traditional craftsmanship and still worshiping traditional gowns, like, for example, the shari. I saw many women wearing this with pride and with happiness. And I even heard some stories that they said, well, this shari once belonged to my grandmother, and she passed it down to my mother, and she now passed it down to me. So they have this kind of emotional attachment to garments that we in the Western world completely lost. We lost that entirely. And this is something that I think is very, very inspiring when we look at Bangladeshi culture, is that they still have this value for these garments, and they still have, they worship them much more than we do. So we can actually learn something, as you said, when we talk about these fast fashion trend cycles. We can learn something from cultures like Bangladesh, because they still know how to have this emotional attachment with a product. And in the end, the demand is something that drives these fast fashion cycles, but also designers definitely have a big responsibility with that. So when designers, slow down their rhythm of collections, and when they decide to offer less collections every year, then obviously the customer in the end will have the same impression that it's not that necessary to buy another sweater that you might already have in similar ways, but just because the shape has been updated a little or the color is slightly different than the one that they bought last year, you don't necessarily need a new product for that. And so, yeah, I see
And
that.
in that case, what will be the situation of the industry or the people who are working?
I think, of course, what many people fear is when you reduce trend cycles and when you try to slow that down, then people fear that you will have less production because you will have to produce less products, and that people in the long run will lose their jobs. That's what people fear, because if you want to offer, only one sweater a year, then it means that you produce 4 less than the year before. And if we calculate that on the top of, the whole, popularity or population in Europe, then it's, millions and millions of pieces that you might, in an ideal scenario, not need anymore. And this, in the end, also means that you have less demand and less buying volume in production. But what I truly believe is, if we offer pieces that really have an emotional connection to the customer, then they can have a higher quality. And if we finally manage, or let's say if the society gains back some consciousness for that, they will also be willing to pay that amount of money that they paid for 5 sweaters last year for just a single one. So this is something that we have to achieve. We don't want to cut jobs. We don't want to downsize the fashion industry. We just want to make sure that we need less products in the end, and that the ones we create actually have a bigger impact, also a bigger impact emotionally, and that people want to keep them for longer.
Thank you for your beautiful explanation. I think it will help, and viewers might appreciate your reply. I can say that you are an educator and consultant of GIZ, and you are working with the Bangladesh industry. So what is your experience working with the fashion, textile, and design industry in Bangladesh?
As I already said, I think when it comes to manufacturing, to the manufacturing sector, Bangladesh is already highly industrialized. Yes. And also when you compare this to other factories, I think especially what we as Europeans sometimes have in mind is that factories in the subcontinent might not be as modern as maybe factories in Europe, for instance. And this is a perception that is completely wrong. I've definitely seen in Bangladesh an industry that is flourishing, and that the industry is developing in such a high speed that they're always up to date when it comes to technology, when it comes to safety standards, which sometimes factories in Europe cannot offer. So I've seen production facilities in Italy, for example, that seemed a bit outdated in my point of view, while some facilities in Bangladesh are obviously much more modern in that comparison. And that is because the knowledge is based there. And since the textile industry got globalized a couple of decades back, pretty much all of these production steps were outsourced into countries, for instance, like Bangladesh. And this also means that so many generations of people work in these industries and have so much knowledge about it that always drives innovation, and that always drives the spirit of wanting to be up to date. And you definitely see this in the industry. But when we talk about design, this is something that what in my opinion is quite sad, is that especially in other parts of the world, people don't look so much at designers from Bangladesh, because they might have a different kind of perception of fashion. As I already said, they are much more focused on on traditional crafts, and they worship their traditional background. They want to worship their traditional garments that they have had since centuries, which is something lovely. But this is something that especially northern countries don't appreciate anymore. That's why Bangladeshi design, or design from Bangladesh, has less meaning in the rest of the world than, for example, production in Bangladesh. And this is what I think is very sad, and what we should change in the future.
So in terms of education, there's fashion and textile, where we are actually in terms of the global standard, and where is the space of enhancing it?
I have the feeling that when it comes to all things related to physical tasks, so everything that is related to textile engineering, to textile manufacturing, and everything that is related around those topics, really about the physical creation of a product, the education in Bangladesh is top-notch. I've seen universities, and I've seen the professors, and I've met them, and I had conversations with them. And I can fairly say that, especially this educational level in terms of creating textile and clothing products is absolutely top-notch and up-to-date. And also I see that more and more creative, teaching options are available, so that Bangladesh is offering more and more options for students to develop themselves into creative positions, like becoming a designer, for instance. But still, I think that there is, some room to grow that. While I know that in other countries, in very developed countries, there's so many educational opportunities for people that aspire to be designers, because the industry here is really focusing on, just the creative work and the work of having the idea.
So that is production. That is production.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Bangladesh is basically focused on production.
Exactly. Yeah, Bangladesh, the education has a stronger focus on production, while in Europe, for instance, there is much more offers to also study something conceptual, which is because many developed countries are just very wealthy, and they can, afford to, people can afford to send their children to schools that are much more expensive. And even if it's not something, even if they don't learn let's say, a craft that they can do with their hands, people are willing to take that risk and to invest in those kind of educations. This is growing in Bangladesh too, but obviously since this the manufacturing industry is located there, there's a stronger focus on that, which makes absolute sense. And what I would see as, yeah, sorry, you go ahead.
Yes, continue. So.
What I would see as a great opportunity for different countries, not just for Bangladesh, is that we try to connect students internationally already in that young age when they're in university level. Because I remember when I was a student, I only had, my first contact with Bangladeshi colleagues when I started entering the industry. Before that, when I was a student and when I was learning, when I was studying to prepare myself for this industry, I never had any contact with a person outside from Germany. And that is really, really sad. And that doesn't help anyone, because in one day, today I work so closely with people from Bangladesh. I work closely with them in CNA, and also when I work for the GIZ, there's just so much contact and connection going on. Even if I'm not located there, but through digital means, I'm always in touch with them. And I never had the opportunity to connect with them when I was a student. And I think this would also help students in Bangladesh to connect with students on the other end of the world. So this would be something that, that would be on my list of goals for this year, to create some educational programs where students can connect with each other across borders, and already on student level in university, create some projects together, because it will prepare them better for the future.
For your kind information, the platform created by the Rokeya Ahmed Purna, that is the Design in Global. So our aim is to collaborate designers from global south to global north, and this way we can develop ourselves, and we know each other. So what is your perception of our designers? How they are different from the global south and global north?
Yeah.
In talent wise or creativity wise?
Obviously, there's one thing that I have to state very clearly. There's no difference in talent in any country. In every country, there's people born that are extremely talented in one field and in others. So the only thing that can differentiate different countries is the opportunities that they have and the tools they have to develop their talent. And this is something, where obviously there are differences in, between global north and global south to some extent. the global south is definitely, due to this highly globalized and industrialized industries that are located there, is catching up. And it's catching up in a very high speed. So we are closing this gap, especially this knowledge gap. We're closing more and more. But still, there's obviously a difference between design that is coming from the global north and design coming from Bangladesh, for instance. And I definitely do see that people in Bangladesh are more focused on enhancing, for example, enhancing the female beauty, enhancing, the crafts and traditions. They're enhancing things that are made by hand, and they value high materials a lot. This is something that I find very inspiring in Bangladesh design, while design in the Northern Hemisphere is often driven by market demand and by trends that are dictated from big brands. So we just have to follow what the market says, and we're kind of losing this sense of craftsmanship and of handmade beauty, which many Bangladeshi designers still have. And what I also see is that Bangladeshi designers often create a sort of handwriting that mixes different cultural influences together, which I think is very interesting, because the Bangladeshi industry often produces for companies that are located elsewhere. So they create products that are meant for the European customer, for instance, but they're made in Bangladesh. But still, these products have an influence on the industry because so many people have them in their hands and are inspired by those. So in Bangladeshi design, we often see products coming up that have this kind of combined look of Bangladesh heritage and this cultural background, combined with some bits and pieces of Western handwriting. And I think this is very, very inspiring. And I think it's definitely something unique.
And all over the world, we are talking about or discussing about the recycling and upcycling and all that. And it is our tradition, it is our heritage. There's quilting, and that is our heritage of recycling with the old saris, and we make beautiful quilts. Our seniors or our older generation did, and we are still following that path. So
Exactly.
and that is also in practice.
Mm-hmm. It's in practice, while for so many designers and companies in the global north, it's such a modern concept. We think being sustainable and being a bit more conscious with the product waste is something completely new and something that we made up now and that we have to change our industry into. While, for example, the Bangladeshi culture has had this mindset for so many years and decades and even hundreds of years back, because it's just part of the culture to worship something and to repair it when it's broken and not to throw it away and to pass it on to the next generations because you took good care of things.
Exactly.
And this is something, that's why I think it's always, I think many colleagues that are from Bangladesh and that I work with, especially on those topics as sustainability, sometimes find it very funny that Europeans come up with, we need to recycle more, and, we need to create this new mindset of reusing and repairing. And for them, it's so funny because it's part of their culture already for such a long time. And it's not new. It's never been new. It has always been there. But due to this drastic production and overconsumption, we have completely lost touch with that kind of mindset.
So the days are becoming more challenging, harder. So what do you think? How designers will overcome the challenges and explore the more opportunities in future?
Yes. So there is one thing that I'm currently teaching a lot, which are circular design methods. Circular design means nothing else than designing a product already for the afterlife of the product in mind. So when we think about especially this overconsumption happening in developed countries, when we create a garment, we have to keep in mind that it might be that this garment will not be worn for long. So what happens with that? And there are several strategies that how we can design a product in order for it to circulate more. The first idea, which is pretty much the most complicated one in my opinion, is to create something that is visually long-lasting. And visually long-lasting means that it's not really focusing on some short-lived trends, but that also the whole handwriting and the whole look of this product is timeless, and that people want to wear it for longer. This is one design strategy, which is easy to achieve for some Bangladeshi designers because they grew up in that kind of culture. But for other parts of the world, it sounds quite complicated, and it's not that hard to achieve. But the other idea is that we create products that are meant for easy recycling, so that they are made by materials that can either decompose very quickly, or that are very easy to recycle with the industry means that we already have, so that we don't mix and blend together so many different fibers and materials, but that we focus on one single material, which makes it easy to be recycled. So this is something that I'm teaching as one pillar of rethinking how we design pieces. But definitely, I think it would be much better if we could focus in our industry on design for longevity. So how can we design pieces that live longer? And in that case, I think we can learn so much from design in Bangladesh.
I previously mentioned about what design in Bangladesh, the DIB project is doing, and we
Yes,
are
the platform.
trying to collaborate with other designers or
Mhm.
other part of the world. So,
Yes.
do you think that it will help develop the cross-cultural designers?
Mhm. I think projects like this platform, Design and Global, for instance, are exactly what we need, and what we need to grow, and what we need to make much more visible, because we need to connect people across cultures, because the industry is already happening across cultures. So the fact that the people are not as connected as they should be is kind of pushing us behind, and not just, it's not just pushing Bangladeshis behind, and it's not just pushing Europeans behind, it's pushing all of us behind. We all would profit from stronger collaborations across borders, and we have everything we need. We have strong digital solutions, just the fact that we are talking right now, although we are in completely different time zones and completely different parts of the world, we have technology that allows us to connect with no
Right,
problem whatsoever. So we do
exactly.
have all the means that we need in hand. We have all the tools. The only thing we have to do now is make it visible, and make platforms like the DIG, for instance, more famous and more known, because these tools will help us in the end to connect and to bring people together to, create, creative solutions, novel solutions for the problems that we have.
So, lastly, I just came to know that you are working with a book with Bangladeshi leaders, women leaders. So,
Yes.
can you please share with us briefly what are you actually doing?
Yes, it's a super interesting project that I've been working on for over a year now already. And it's mainly focused on the topic of gender inequality in the fashion industry. Gender inequality is a very big term that everybody of us has heard already, and that explains pretty much the gap between a man's reputation and a woman's reputation. But what is especially interesting to highlight is that the fashion industry is a very drastic example for this. Why is that the case? Because in the fashion industry, we have, firstly, mainly female consumers. So the women's wear market is much bigger than the menswear market, but also women buy clothes for men and for their children, for instance, for other people.
Right.
So women are the main consumers. Secondly, we have incredibly many women working in garment manufacturing, but also in creative jobs like design, for instance. All those are jobs that are mainly, conducted by women. So it's an industry of things made from women for women. And still, when we take a look at high leadership levels, we have so many men in those positions and so little women. When we take a look at, the 10 biggest brands, in the whole world that create the most revenue, only 2 of them are led by women. So that's, a quota of 20%. And we're talking about very big market decisions that are made there. And that those decisions define sort of the strategic landscape of how the fashion industry will develop in the future. And those decisions will in fact have such a strong influence on all these people that work in the fashion industry, which are, as I said, mainly women in pretty much all parts of the fashion industry. If it's people working in sales, if it's garment manufacturing, as I already said, it can be design, but it can also be marketing. It can be influencers that work with social media to promote a product. All of these professions are things related to fashion that mainly women do. And when we have the main decisions, the big decisions on top leadership level made by men, it is just, a matter of time until this influence will be felt and noticed by women working in the industry. So what I wanted to do was to create a product with one university in Bangladesh, or to create a project where we investigate where this gender equality is coming from and how we can make it better. So there's one big concept, which is called the role model effect, that can be a very good, tool to create more equality when it comes to gender equality. And it's not new to anybody that role models have a strong psychological effect on our decision making. Role models, meaning all the people that I see around me, and maybe people of influence that I see in my daily life, that I see in media, that I see in my workplace. Role models can define how much we trust in ourselves and how much we trust in our own opportunities. So the project that we're doing at Asanullah University in Dhaka is that several students, male students and female students of mixed backgrounds, everybody of them is picking one female role model in the fashion industry. They're interviewing that person and they will write an essay about that. They will ask the person questions like, what kind of experiences have you made in terms of gender equality? Have you had any setbacks just because you were a woman? Did you have, what kind of experiences did you make when you became a mother, if she was a mother, for instance? There's all these factors that can influence the career path of a woman, and they will try to get to know this role model as much as they can. And then they will write an essay about this person, about their experiences, about their mindset, and about advice that this woman can give to other people. And in the end, we will have a book that is full of essays of inspiring women. And we plan actually to only highlight role models from Bangladesh, because we think there's so many great role models that sometimes have not enough visibility. And our plan is in the end to have a very nice book, which is called Bangladesh Women of Fashion, that will tell stories of people that, might be invisible before, but not anymore.
So when do you plan to publish this book?
The project is running until end of March. By then, every student will have submitted their writing work. And then we will have to start putting the book together. And we already have some conversations with publishing houses, but we have to see how we do it. Our plan is by the end of this year that the book should be out.
So it is only, you have worked with only one university?
Yes, for this first round, we are working with one university, but we are already planning to repeat this once more to maybe make this a booklet that appears once a year, and then make it a joint project. Maybe a joint project between universities of different countries even. Maybe I can connect one German university to a Bangladeshi one, and then we will have students from Germany and Bangladesh collaborating with each other to highlight role models from their cultures. Because a role model within our own culture and with our own country background is important for us to see what we can achieve in our national borders. But if we have role models beyond that, that means that we can aspire and we see what is possible even outside of our country. And we are living in a highly globalized world. So we are starting small for this first round, but we already have big ambitions how to grow the project.
Exactly. That is excellent initiative. And I want to inform you that there was a project between Bangladesh and Germany to get an institute that local international. So there was a collaboration. The 8 designers from Bangladesh will travel to Germany, and 8 from there will come here, and they will see our industry. But it was stopped during COVID, and the project is still not revived or retrieved.
Yes, I think the
anyway,
pandemic was such a big
I
disruptor.
just want to yeah, but one thing I just want to ask, that you are an educator, you are a strategist, and also a designer. So which role actually do you enjoy?
I think I would be very sad if I had to choose one. That's why I'm doing all of this. I think the great thing about it is whenever I'm annoyed by one of these roles, that I can put some more heart into one of the others. And I think it's very natural that humans have different kind of phases in their lives. And sometimes we are, we're having a month where we are working or thinking super creatively, and where we can engage ourselves in finding so many new ideas. But there's other, maybe another month where we feel like, I'm not creative at the moment, and I need to do something a bit more technical, and I need to think about education and that background. So this is actually the luxury of my, profession, is that I can engage in different fields and trust a bit what my current gut tells me, and I can go with my natural flow and, make use of all the resources that I have currently. And this is a big luxury. And what I enjoy is that I can, bring those professions together and make sure that I have learnings from the other side that I can use in the one side.
Lovely talking to you, and I must welcome you to Bangladesh. Hopefully, you will come as soon as possible, when you get time, or when it is better for you. Or so. I must say it was a lovely conversation. I think our viewers will get so many things you have explained and you have discussed, and it will also be helpful for our industry, our fashion design students and textile design students. Hopefully we'll talk to you again in some time, and in some day, and I'd like to invite you again to come to Bangladesh and explore more and more to our industry. Before I sign off, I just say, viewers, stay safe. Good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.